Some breaking news that just came into our newsroom that we have to bring to you. It's official there. British rock star Ozzy Osbourne has died at the age of 76.
A voice that defined heavy metal has fallen silent forever. On July 22, 2025, John Michael Ozzy Osbourne, known to millions as the Prince of Darkness, passed away at his Buckinghamshire home, aged 76. A man who once bit the head off a bat on stage and defied convention at every turn, Ozzy's death has left fans stunned and grieving. Yet even as the world mourns, swirling questions about his final moments, his health struggles, and the true story behind his private farewell have ignited speculation that the official narrative may only tell part of the tale. The shocking news and immediate reactions. Shortly after dawn broke over Britain, news outlets around the globe flashed the headline, Ozzy Osbourne dies at 76. The family's official statement was terse and heartfelt. Ozzy passed away peacefully, surrounded by family and love. He battled bravely until the end. We ask for privacy as we grieve our beloved husband, father, and legend. Within minutes, tributes poured in. From Rolling Stone's reflective cover story to tearful television segments on BBC, CNN, and music channels worldwide. Social media hashtags like #PrinceOfDarkness and #LongLiveOzzy trended within minutes, catalyzing an outpouring of grief, reminiscences, and speculation. Questions surrounding his final hours. Despite the twins of sorrow and celebration in those early hours, some fans sensed incongruity between Ozzy's public persona and the circumstances of his death. Just 2 months earlier, in an interview filmed for a forthcoming documentary, he declared, "If I can sit, if I can sing, I'll give it one last go." That flicker of hope left many believing he wasn't on the brink of death. Yet, within weeks, his family announced he wished to spend his final days at home, quietly, privately. Why the sudden shift from hospital care to a private estate? And did he truly pass away in his own bed, or was that part of a deliberately crafted statement meant to spare his loved ones further anguish under hospital lights? A private farewell, family only. According to insiders close to the Osbourne household, Ozzy's final goodbye was fiercely guarded. Only immediate family were permitted at his bedside, no former bandmates, no music producers, not even close friends. Sharon Osbourne, his manager and wife of over 4 decades, reportedly turned away anyone who lacked an explicit invitation. Their children, Jack, Kelly, and youngest daughter Amy, spent long, hushed hours playing his favorite Sabbath ballads and holding vigil. The absence of medical staff footage or third-party confirmation has fueled questions. Did the family insist on home care to honor his wishes, or to conceal certain treatments and private moments from public view? Health battles behind closed doors. Ozzy's legendary energy on stage belied a fracturing body in private. Public health scares had forced him to cancel multiple world tours over the past decade, including the much-hyped No More Tours 2 in 2020, each withdrawal raising alarm among fans. While he publicly acknowledged a Parkinsonism diagnosis in 2020, sources reveal that doctors had identified early symptoms as far back as 2003. For nearly 2 decades, Ozzy managed the tremors, stiffness, and dysphonia caused by the degenerative disease, determined to keep performing until the very end. The battle with Parkinson's disease. Parkinsonism is not simply a tremor, it is a relentless thief of coordination, voice control, and independence. Ozzy's characteristic vibrato grew slurred, his once towering roar reduced to a gravelly whisper. On stage, he fought visibly, as cameras captured his antagonistic charm while his hands trembled against the microphone stand. Yet off-stage, he allowed only Sharon and a handful of caretakers to witness the true extent of his decline. Fan-recorded videos of his final public appearance, the July 5, 2025 concert in Birmingham, show him seated on his signature throne, leaning heavily on both arms, his golden hair thinner, but his spirit defiantly alive. The 2019 fall and chronic pain. Compounding the Parkinson's was a severe spinal injury from a fall backstage in 2019. The accident ruptured discs and impinged nerves, triggering chronic, unremitting pain. Ozzy endured rounds of epidural injections, nerve blocks, and high-dose opiates that, according to Sharon, reduced him to a near-vegetative state at times. Insiders say he became unrecognizable, drifting in and out of lucidity, his legendary wit muted by cocktail sedation. It was during these months that Ozzy allegedly pledged to Sharon that if he could not maintain dignity in his final days, he would orchestrate his departure on his own terms. Family at the bedside, a final circle. Ozzy insisted on being surrounded only by blood, confided a close source. His children, Jack, Kelly, and Amy, recounted in private talks that they played Sabbath's Changes on loop, the ballad of letting go, as a salve and a farewell. Likewise, Sharon held his hand through nights when the pain spiked and tears blurred the stoic facade he'd upheld on stage for half a century. As his breathing labored, Sharon said he whispered the simple line, "I'm not afraid anymore." For a man who had warred with addiction, illness, and existential dread, that moment encapsulated his ultimate surrender and peace. Fans' unsettling observations. Amid public mourning, sharp-eyed followers noted oddities. Why had Sharon Osbourne been inactive on social media for weeks? Why had Kelly and Jack cancelled scheduled appearances, vanishing from public life? And why did the official obituary emphasize, passing peacefully at home, when sources confirmed he'd been under 24/7 medical care in a private facility until mere days before death? Some theorized the family rushed him home once the end was imminent, honoring his televised promise to remain in Buckinghamshire soil. Others suspect that certain treatments, perhaps experimental therapies, were deliberately concealed. The return home controversy. Rumors swirled that Ozzy's final move from hospital to manor was orchestrated not just for comfort but to manage PR and estate logistics. At home, the family could control every narrative thread, dictating which videos leaked, which photographs were released, and when memorial events would be announced. Insiders claimed the obituaries were pre-written, and that Sharon's curt statement was the lone unscripted note, reflecting both her sorrow and her strategic acumen as manager. For devoted fans, the lack of transparency around his final medical decisions has forged a new mythology, a final act of rebellion from a man who always kept them guessing. The will and estate disputes. As tributes poured in, attention turned to Ozzy's fortune, valued at over $220 million. Reports emerged that he rewrote his will just over a year ago, triggering speculation of a family rift. While Sharon is expected to inherit the lion's share, whispers suggest eldest daughter Amy, who shunned the family spotlight for much of her life, may have received a reduced portion or been left to a discretionary trust. Distant relatives and former collaborators are said to be preparing legal challenges, claiming verbal promises or informal agreements regarding royalties and rights to unreleased recordings. Handwritten goodbye letters. Beyond legal documents, Ozzy is rumored to have penned individualized farewell letters, emotional missives for each child and Sharon. Described by an insider as poetic, contrite, and quietly profound, these notes reportedly reference regrets over years lost to addiction, gratitude for unwavering loyalty, and final blessings to his loved ones. The question now haunting fans, will these intimate texts ever see public light? Some in Sharon's circle argue that releasing them would betray Ozzy's wish for a private goodbye, while others envision a posthumous memoir or documentary that could vault them into eternity. The unreleased music vault. Perhaps the most tantalizing mystery is the vault of unreleased Ozzy material. Sources say he recorded dozens of songs in the past 2 years, raw, unvarnished tracks grappling with mortality, faith, and legacy. Sharon hinted in a rare interview that Ozzy set aside music for a time when he wouldn't be around to share it. With the estate now in executor hands, industry insiders predict a fierce battle over release rights, creative control, and profit distribution. Will fans ever hear the final songs of the Prince of Darkness, or will they remain locked away as deathly secrets? Family tensions and legal challenges. Already, distant cousins and ex-band associates are mobilizing lawyers. Claims range from unpaid session fees from the early Black Sabbath years to alleged verbal contracts for future royalties. One fringe theory suggests that Sharon's tight grip on Ozzy's legacy masks deeper disputes over managerial fees and trademark licensing. While none of these claims have yet reached court, the specter of a protracted inheritance battle looms, threatening to fracture the unity of a family that stood together in those solemn final days. A legacy beyond music. Despite personal controversies, Ozzy's influence remains monumental. From the down-tuned riffs of Tony Iommi to the rough-hewn vocals that defined Sabbath's cornerstone albums, he shaped generations of metal, punk, and even electronic artists. Festivals like Ozzfest, his brainchild, continue to teem with emerging talent he once championed. Music therapy programs, Parkinson's research funds, and scholarships in his name speak to his dual legacy, as a sonic pioneer and as a figure who leveraged his platform for causes born from personal struggle. Ozzy's cultural impact. Ozzy transcended the traditional rock star mold. In 2002, his family's reality TV show The Osbournes introduced a new era of celebrity confessionals, endearing him to audiences far beyond metal aficionados. His trademark howl became shorthand for rebellion, his black and white wardrobe influenced fashion, his candid accounts of addiction and mental health battles fostered public conversations decades before such topics were mainstream. Today, Ozzy's style spans Halloween costumes, video game cameos, and pop culture homages, reflecting a cross-genre, cross-generational appeal few artists ever achieve. The humanity beneath the chaos. For all the shock value, wild antics on stage, headline-grabbing tabloid tales, Ozzy's true power lay in vulnerability. His lyrics delved into war pigs, alienation, paranoid, love and redemption, Mama, I'm Coming Home, and madness, Diary of a Madman. He owned his demons, addiction relapses, arrests, and personal losses. In interviews, he spoke plainly about the terror of losing control, a confessional that resonated with fans wrestling their own fears. His assertion, "I'm not a hero, I'm just a man who got a stage," encapsulated his kinship with the outsider, the flawed, and the courageous. Spiritual search and the fear of death. Despite his theatrical darkness, Ozzy carried an abiding fear of the afterlife. He once confessed, "I've lived through worse than hell, but it's the not knowing that haunts me." In his later years, he eschewed organized religion yet sought solace in meditation, energy healing, and private chaplains. Sharon recounted moments when he would sit for hours, eyes distant, contemplating mortality. Rather than dazzling pyrotechnics, his final act was a quiet reckoning, a man wrestling with the unknown, determined to face it on his own terms. The final reflections. In one of his last recorded interviews, Ozzy was asked how he wished to be remembered. He paused, voice raspy but unwavering, as someone who never faked it. "I gave everything I had, even when I had nothing left." That candid self-assessment, raw, imperfect, and unfiltered, strikes at the heart of his legacy. It reminds us that beneath the leather and chaos was a man who sought truth, connection, and, ultimately, peace. Conclusion and call to fans. Ozzy Osbourne's death may have closed the final chapter on a life lived in extremes, from Birmingham's gritty streets to sold-out stadiums and the threshold of fame's dark temptations. Yet his story remains unfinished in the hearts of fans, scholars, and loved ones. The unanswered questions, about his final hours, his private farewells, and the treasures hidden in vaults, only deepen the legend of the Prince of Darkness. Now, as candles flicker on benches in Birmingham, as murals spring up from Tokyo to Sao Paulo, and as vinyl spins into the night, fans carry forward Ozzy's torch. Share your memories, the first time Crazy Train shook your world, the solace you found in Mama, I'm Coming Home, or the moment you discovered you weren't alone in your struggles. In the end, it is these personal stories, a digital shrine of human experience, that will keep Ozzy's voice alive. What was your most powerful Ozzy moment? How did his music shape your life, and what song hits differently now that he's gone? Join the conversation, share your stories, and let's celebrate the legend who taught us to embrace darkness, fight through pain, and never apologize for being real. Long live the Prince of Darkness.